Hello everyone, welcome to RegTech, the place where we bite and oh shit! You made me say it! You made me. Oh my god, it actually happened.
Hi everybody, welcome to RegTech, the place where we share bites and banter. My name is Natasha, I'm a software engineer.
I'm Saloni, software developer.
And I'm Victoria, solutions engineer.
And together we are RegTech. Today's episode will be all about running a community. Three of us are actually in a common tech community called WomenWhoCode. It's a global community.
Yep, we both
as you can see. Yeah, and we're in the Singapore chapter of that community. It's over 147 countries all over the world, but we are specifically in the Singapore chapter because we're in Singapore. So this episode will be all about like what it means to be in a community, maybe our journeys as to how we found this community in the first place, especially as people in the tech world, and also how we run it, because we're not only just like participating in the activities, we're part of like the organizing crew as well. So to start off, maybe we should introduce our own roles in the community. So we're gonna do a re-intro again, I guess. I'm Natasha, but I'm one of the evangelists in WomenWhoCode. We'll explain what an evangelist is later. But Saloni?
Yep. I am Saloni. I'm the director at WomenWhoCode. We have two directors, so I'm the co-director.
And I'm Victoria, I'm also evangelist in WomenWhoCode.
Yeah. So basically, I think our community, we're gonna like use our community as an anecdote, but this is not how all communities are run, obviously. We'll be speaking from our experiences, but we just want to like be able to introduce our experiences with common understanding. So in the first place, like a director, you want to explain your role of a director really quickly?
Yep. So as the director of WomenWhoCode, so as Natasha explained, we are the Singapore chapter. So my role as the director would be I'll just ensure the run of events where we try to one event per month. It could be online or in person. The main aim of this tech community is to encourage more women to remain and excel in tech careers. So we'll do sessions, workshops around it. We'll have different verticals within the community, so like cybersecurity, software development, data science, AI. So there are different verticals. There will be different events for each of these verticals. I'll ensure that it's an event we are abiding by the global rules, policies that we have for WomenWhoCode, and any partnerships, or you can say that I'll be the face of the Singapore chapter. So that's how we do it. And Evangelist,
Victoria.
So evangelist is basically like the person who kind of promotes events on social media about WomenWhoCode. For me, I also see evangelist as someone who is actively participating when organizing the event. So I'm doing both, like organizing the event, like handling logistics as well if needed to, and as well as social media marketing. So in a way, doing all those. Also, I think evangelists also help out on the day of the event. So if they have time, they'll go in and volunteer as well. That's why we have the shirts.
Well, except for me, there was a supply chain disruption.
Yes. She'll get her shirt soon. We hope to see her in her shirt soon. But yeah, so that is kind of how I see an evangelist role is. Someone who can actually lead the marketing campaigns as well as like promote and showcase the voice of WomenWhoCode within those social media platforms.
Yeah.
Do you have another perspective?
I mean, real quickly, I wanted to like say something funny. Did you realize the term evangelist, well, it's commonly used in like the tech industry as a whole. It's a very strange term that's only used in cults. I had like a non-techie friend, like when I was introducing myself, and she was like, "Are you in a cult?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And I realized like, to evangelize, to spread the word. Like, I realized like, why do we use such cultish names in the tech industry? Okay, so I don't know where the term it has a similar connotation, yes, but I don't know why it's in the tech industry. It's a well-used term. It's not just for like women who code. You will see that in actual job titles. So just putting it out there. But for evangelists, basically what Victoria says, we're just active like voices of like the community we represent. You also see this role in the companies as well, where they're trying to evangelize and spread the word on their own products. So these people are like sort of the face and the brand ambassadors of the company. So that's just kind of like what our role is. So
So like these tech communities, they're actually just volunteer groups, and these roles are not fixed like a job role. It is just a term we give to like different members of the group, so that there is a duty to do, but everyone can do everything.
Yeah.
So we have general volunteers, we have evangelists, we have leads. They have like there are like some ground roles, scopes to follow, but everyone is allowed to do anything because it's a volunteer role. Even for me, like no one's paid to do it. So I wanted to ask, like, why did you join a tech community?
Yeah, I think for myself, I actually joined WomenWhoCode. Like, I'm the most recent member, I would say, amongst three of us. I joined like somewhere late last year. I had like how I got introduced to WomenWhoCode was actually through a panel that WomenWhoCode was organizing, and I was invited to be one of the panelists by one of our fellow WomenWhoCode leads at that point. And that was how I got introduced to the tech community, to the idea of what a tech community was in the first place. Between the panel and actually joining, I actually put off really like joining because I was afraid of the responsibility, and I didn't know if I needed one at the point. But I ended up joining at the point where I was at a very low point in my career. I was very lost, and beyond working for my organization, I started getting kind of like confused as to why I was in tech in the first place. I felt like I didn't have similar voices around me, different experiences to learn from, and I was in an organization that I was the only female software engineer for like many years, and I realized like, wow, I lack like having women friends around me who were talking about tech and being in tech, and I just realized I felt very alone. And being in that one panel, I realized like, wait, actually that was one of the first few times that I saw that more than one woman, being in tech in like an event. So I decided to take the plunge and join it. And I was right. I did find a community of very diverse, like women and men, actually. Like obviously, even though we're called WomenWhoCode, I don't see a distinction per se, like we are exclusive to women. It's just more of like we want to provide that platform for people to see that they themselves are represented, to feel encouraged to reach out, to join, just like I did, when I realized like, wait, everybody around me, they don't look like me. They have like experiences, even though valuable to learn from, are not the same as what I would, and I need somebody to learn from that can share similar problems. So that's kind of like how I ended up joining WomenWhoCode. But yeah, what about Victoria for yourself?
Oh yeah, I was just like smiling the whole time because I was admiring your journey and how you found WomenWhoCode. I think that's really nice, and I'm very glad that you found this community, and we're super also glad that we can be a part of this because we met through WomenWhoCode, right?
That's true.
So I was just feeling sentimental.
Oh, that's true. I just feel like
but yeah, for me, I actually got to know WomenWhoCode from a friend. So actually at the time I was quite active like online already in a tech community, like online tech community. So I was looking for something more offline, some like I can meet people in real life, because I've always been just existing online and people know about me online.
Avatar.
Yeah, like I'm just
we're sounding like the metaverse now.
yeah, like I'm just this 2D avatar holding a cup of tea, So I liked it, I enjoyed it, but I feel like I need to talk to people in real life, I need to meet people in real life, and I want to feel like my community, like I contribute to my community like directly. So that's why I was looking for a local community to join, and then my friend invited me. She was a lead at WomenWhoCode, so she invited me to join. She's like, how about WomenWhoCode? I think this role would be suitable for you.
Yeah.
So I joined without much
expectation.
Yeah, because I thought, it's just like, a small volunteer role that I can do. But what caught me off guard is that every single person, like we meet for the first time in like a group setting, and every single person I meet is like so passionate about like contributing to the community and sharing that same values as me, like being able to like just join and just take your time off from like any other things to volunteer for this, to actually make community impact, building communities, running community events. Like we all share that same passion, and I'm like very surprised because it's so different from like in online where like I'm just talking and I'm sharing stuff and then people comment and then I learn from other people online. It's more like you are the forefront of, you know, organizing communities. So you are the one who are actually initiating community events. Like I just find that so refreshing in a way. Like I wanted to be a part of that. And so I joined February last year, and immediately I knew that this is for me, and like this is something I want to do in my spare time. This is what I want to do to give back everything that I've received from the tech community. So that's kind of the reason why I joined. And I'm always super inspired by all our members. Like if you just talk to them, they always have their own reasons for joining as well. But when I find out about all their reasons, I'm always super inspired by each and every one of them, that I had to write a blog post about it. So I remember in the first week I joined, we were just talking like for dinner, for pizza, and then immediately I was like suggesting, let us like start this blog and create stuff. And like there's just so many things to talk about with them because we are all passionate and we all have that same fire that we want to do something for the community. So it's so easy to like, you know, be with the same like-minded type of people that, you know, can share that values. I think it's really amazing so far.
Yeah, we will do a shameless plug where we link Victoria's blog post with this video when it's posted.
Oh my, okay.
So we'll do that. All right. Yeah.
But what about you, Saloni? You literally like how did you become a director? Like,
okay, so how it started, it was so very similar. Basically, when I graduated, I was like not the only woman, but one of the two women engineers in my in the team, and I did feel like, wait, I need to see a few more of my kind of people to see that this is a sustainable career and there are women engineers at the top, or you know, in senior women engineers or something. So then I came about other tech communities like GirlsInTech actually. So there are like tech communities which are for everyone. Those are there, so like Junior Dev, SG, and a few others, Angular Dev meetups and stuff. But every time I would go for those community events, it would be 100 men with like 1 or 2 women, and it would be super awkward. I did not like that at all, and so that's why I was drawn more towards GirlsInTech kind of community. So with GirlsInTech, it was at that point, it was I would join them. So it's always like a Telegram or like a Slack app. We would go for events together. So events in that case would be like go to schools, like primary schools, secondary schools, talk to girls, have like a coding workshop, or like, you know, those drag and drop coding kind of sessions.
Like Scratch and stuff.
So for like Scratch. So then I would go for those events, and then that's when I realized like, oh, it's actually quite nice to be like kind of inspiring these young girls that, you know, I'm a software developer, you can be one too kind of thing. So then that's how I got more involved with the community. There were so many other women who were much senior than me in that time. So I was like amazed by them, like, wow, they're doing so much for the community, like I actually look up to them. So then that's how I got involved in the community. So then it started going from GirlsInTech, which at that point felt more for like the younger girls, and then I moved to Tech Ladies, another community, which was more for entry-level developers.
Wow, it's a whole coming of age.
It's just so happened for me that way that it became like that. So then in Tech Ladies, we had like mentorship programs, boot camps. I got to be like a boot camp coach. So that was great as well. And then finally, like WomenWhoCode was always around at that point, but I never like went to those events yet. Or like I would attend some events. Somehow I got to know the previous director. We talked, and then I expressed interest because she was leaving. She was finding the next successor. So we talked, and I was like, you know, I've been a part of tech communities for quite some time. I have been like doing events and stuff. I might give it a try actually, because I am passionate about this. I always want to see like more women engineers in my team, because I feel men and women, they bring different dynamics to a team, and I usually feel a bit more comfortable knowing that there's another female software developer, like maybe not in the same team, but maybe even in another team I can see her around, right? Because believe it or not, there are some I don't know, discrimination or like some underconfidence kind of thing that does happen around a lot more confident men, for example. So I was drawn towards, I was always passionate about having more women in tech. So therefore, like, then became the director at Women Who Code. That's where I started loving it, because I started realizing that my leadership qualities, like, or like what I can improve on to, be a better leader, and I love being a leader now. Like, and of course, like, the reason why I stayed in a community is also because it's a volunteer thing. So only when I'm free, that's when I'll be a part of a event, part of a boot camp or a program. So everyone's there with their own volunteer time. So they have time, therefore they're there, and there's no like obligation or anything. You work at your own time. Just ensure that we are designing a program that's doable, that's that will bring value to others. And of course the networking, I think that's the most plus point about being in a community. I actually now have a lot more software developer friends, and seniors, juniors, we all help each other out. We learn from each other, we will refer each other, give opinions. I just love that there is a support group kind of around us.
Yeah,
So,
I like that.
Yeah.
How you mentioned about networking, because I think this is just my personal, like, myself.
Yeah.
I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
So like the word networking scares me a lot. Like imagine me going to networking events. I'll just be in the corner like, oh my god, who do I talk to? I'm so.
I would be like that too, actually.
Yeah. So
if I could.
So but see, you push yourself. By becoming director, you share. You actually learn from it as well. Not only are you giving back to the community, but you also gain something back in return.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that's what I love about joining a community, because I too. When I go in, my mindset was like, I'm gonna give back, but I didn't expect all these gifts back.
Aww,
right?
I love that.
Yeah. So that is a huge part that I think a lot of people don't realize as well. They say, why am I doing my time volunteering for this? Like, what if I don't have time or like that? You can always make the time if you want to. Like, if you prioritize it, you can make the time, and then who knows, you'll get something back. So that is something that it really is important to me. When I was doing all these community, I realized that it's so unexpected, but all these people that I randomly meet is like, it becomes a network, right? Like I didn't expect it, but it's a great thing that came out from it. So what about Natasha? I'm curious, like, is there anything that you've gained from joining Women Who Code so far?
I think like there's been a big difference into how I saw myself as an engineer prior to joining and then after joining. I think prior to joining, I was obsessed with being technically good and wanting to prove myself as having that technical competence to be equal to my peers, or like constantly trying to focus on that. But I think after joining a community, I realized the value of like sharing my experience, and not so much needing to like prove to people that I'm good, but to realize that there are so many people out there who are like so amazing in what they do, but I don't see anybody as high up, low up. We all have like different experiences. It's so hard to compare even though we can all call ourselves software engineers in a group, but at the same time it's so hard to compare our experiences and say who is better than the other, because it's different. Everybody has their own journeys, and I also realized everybody has their own insecurities as well. That's something that I think I didn't expect to connect with a lot of people about, be it whether you're a woman or a man. Like, I think especially in tech, it can feel very lonely. It can feel like the focus is only on being technically competent, and because of that you're constantly trying to be better, and there's a lot of insecurities driving that. But it's only when you join a community and you realize everybody is in their own journeys, that you realize that that part is not important to your identity as like a person, as an engineer. It's about being in this community that's always learning and growing together, learning through different experiences. And I think that was the biggest part for me, like really changing the narrative of like my identity as an engineer. So that's one part, and I think the second part is also realizing that I have more to give as beyond just being an engineer. So really expanding my identity outside of that. So funnily enough, I know like when I joined the community, and then after that, you know, I started participating in the events, helping out with emceeing, reaching out to people. I didn't expect people in the community to come up to me and say like, how are you doing these things? Like, how are you so good at like networking? I quote because I'm still uncomfortable with that term, because it's just making friends and connecting with people, but networking makes it sound very LinkedIn, you know?
Okay.
I know I joke about LinkedIn a lot, but I still feel uncomfortable with that. But you know, even like talking and emceeing and stuff like that, I never wanted to identify with those skills. In fact, like actually before I decided to become a software engineer, I considered going into mass communications and becoming like a television show host and news anchor. That was like my supposed path.
You would be great at that.
No, the thing is, like, what stopped it was I actually went through like a radio hosting competition when I was 16, and I actually got through all the way to the finals, and they told me I had to drop my O levels. So I was just like, what? No. Obviously, my parents say no. And I was just like, okay, end of that dream. But, you know, because of that, and I thought like this skill kind of like was too contrasting to being an engineer. It feels like two different things. And I didn't want people to say, oh, she's just like that engineer who like talks well. So I actually, for like many years of my life, I didn't want to be associated with hosting, with anything, because I wanted
to suppress this side of
I
yourself?
suppressed. So people would come to me and ask me, hey, do you want to help my company, like my own organization? And I'll be like, no, find somebody else. Like, I'm a software engineer. I am not a host. And it's funny that coming into this community, I realized like that skill of mine is actually helping, you know, people in that community, helping more engineers get to know more about like the tech world, even doing this right now. Yeah, so I've started to like see that I don't need to choose between these two binaries. I can be an engineer and be really good as like somebody who shares my ideas too. And combining these two, it helps other engineers as well. So why not? So
And now that's like one of the qualities in an engineer, to be able to verbalize your thoughts.
Exactly. Yeah, I actually think this is so important, and as to why so many engineers have insecurities is because not many people in our community are stepping out to share their insecurities, their journeys, their problems. So it makes people feel very lonely, as if they're the only ones faced with this. I really envision a world, but like, you know, more people in the tech community stepping out and being really honest and vulnerable with their experiences, and feeling like they don't need to be ashamed of that, so that they can share this experience out to the world, and people like you and me can connect to it and know that we're not alone, because I know what it feels like to be alone, to feel like I have zero representation in what I'm going through. It's just me. It's all me. But actually, you know, then I find out through this community, it's a common experience, and we have a lot of things to learn from that. So, sorry, went in a whole like
Thank
rampage.
you for sharing that. Actually, that must be like it's a big thing to share such a thing. Like actually, like why do people even think of such thing? Is because people at work, they will talk, right? They'll be like, oh, you're so good at talking, you should be a business person, or you know, you should go to the business department. I don't know why they say such things, and then they bring about this false sense of like, oh, engineers should just be quiet. Create more problems after solving some problems.
True though.
Like, I don't know why people like create such stereotypes of different roles, basically. So I
think exactly it's because the stereotypes are so hard set, and it's so hard set also because people don't talk about like we're more than just the stereotypes. There's so many different types of like people in tech, and I think that's also the reason we started this podcast, is realizing that we're all so different, but how come like so much of the portrayal is like one static stereotype, you know? Static, oh my gosh, like but yeah,
there's another thing that I like saw in a community that happens, is that many women especially, they are actually really knowledgeable, really smart in their work, and like expert in their fields, but they would never accept that they are. They will be like, I'm still intermediate, I'm still average, or things. And whereas the same in a men counterpart, they will be like, I know everything, even though it might be same or even below, right? So I realized sometimes you just need to push certain members in the community and be like, you know what, you just accomplished like this small project, why don't you speak about this at this online event, or like in this in-person event together with other people, so that you don't feel alone. And then just like that little push, actually you see like the person just converts into this really confident
Yeah.
person, and you realize, wait, she speaks so well.
Yeah.
Like, she's such a good teacher.
Yeah.
We didn't even know that unless we had pushed each other to do certain things.
So I actually have a very good example of this. So there's this girl, she's at the time she haven't joined us officially. I don't know if I should mention her name, but
No.
for now I don't. And she's always been quite shy. So I remember when I first meet her, she only like want to meet one-on-one and all that, right? Because she's only comfortable talking with one person at a time. But she's super knowledgeable, and she definitely want to share like, you know, her knowledge and all that. And I suggested to her, you know, you can, you know, start a workshop. You know, you should like just run your own workshop. I'll help you out with all the details and all that. And then bam, we just did it, right? You probably know who she is now. But that's how she, like, I never know she's such an amazing speaker. Like, she's been like hiding it in the closet, like that I want to do all this, but then she just need a little bit of push. And then ta-da, and she blossomed, and I was like so proud of her at the end of the workshop series that she did. And like a lot of these things that I think people don't realize their full potential unless they're like a part of that support group, and having that support system actually really helps a lot. So going back to like why we join communities and how communities help us is really so that we can, like you mentioned, you know, overcome that loneliness, that you know, that illusion that we're all doing this alone, that we're lone wolves, and actually being part of like a huge community that can actually support each other and help us grow together. I think that is one of the biggest value that I see we got from communities. Another thing is that, at least for me personally, like you mentioned about the lone wolf, it always feels like we're working in silos. I had a hard time asking for help, because I always feel like that makes me feel like I am not knowledgeable or like incompetent, and like because of my past background of not having formal CS education, that feeds into my imposter syndrome furthermore if I were to ask for help. So I used to never want to ask for help, or even ask for favors, like, can someone help me out with this, like, you know, if I don't have the time. Like, I'll just try to do everything by myself, even if it cuts into my personal time. So that was the thing I struggle with. But you know, since we're all out here sharing our insecurities now, I think through WomenWhoCode I managed to overcome that, because I see that, like you mentioned, we're all technically in one way or another have these insecurities, and all we need is just that support group, that support system, to be able to let us realize that, hey, it's not such a big deal, like this is something we can overcome, and this is something that we can also work on towards improving, you know, especially with many diverse people from diverse background. It can definitely cover our weaknesses, because definitely we're not perfect, and I do admit I'm lacking. but that's why by meeting people from all across, you know, WomenWhoCode, I get to actually see how I can improve. I learn from them, learn from their perspectives, and that's also a huge part of why communities
I
are so
remember when
important.
you joined, you shared with us your blog, and right after I read it, I was inspired, and I actually wrote like 2 to 3 articles for the next few weeks. And then I shared it with you, like, hey, by the way, I also wrote articles inspired by you. And I just love that our community, basically, like-minded people with different backgrounds coming together, and we share a lot of our experiences, and it's good to have a community separate from your workplace as well, because then you can actually like talk openly about the experiences or like the feelings you're facing in your workplace with this other community that's away from your work.
I like that.
And then you can get some advice, you can see like a different perspective to things, and be like, oh yeah, that happened to me last year as well, this is something that I did that helped me. So I really like having that separate group of friends to be able to like share that portion.
Actually, you brought up a very good point, because again, if we're only like, usually our coworkers is the people we spend the most time with, like, because it's Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, so we're always only engaging with them. That can lead to a lot of burnt out for different reasons. So having a separate community, like you mentioned, so you have another group of people that you can talk to and that kind of understands you in a way, it actually puts some distance. So in a way, you're not as burnt out. You know, like you can wind down
and you can
take a
see
break.
what else is there out there.
Yeah. I think it's about like I like what you said about creating that distance, because it's about like, you know, if all you're surrounded with, it's like people from work, your worldview becomes just containing work, and all the struggles that you face in work are like maximized. They just seem so huge. But the moment you step out into a community where people have so many different worldviews, and you realize, oh wait, my problem is just like a small problem amongst like this entire like slew of like different problems people face. And that distance helps you feel like, you know, reduce that burnout, because you realize it's not that like, you know, the world is much bigger than that people have so many different experiences. So I really like that you brought that part out, because that's what happened for me. I was so trapped within my little tiny world within my organization, and all the problems I was faced with felt amplified. You know, but the moment I step out and I get to know like, oh, actually the world is much bigger than just my organization, you know, there's so much more to explore. It helped me like reduce all that burnout and have a healthy distance between my workplace and myself. So I think that you brought that part out. I also want to tap into like what you said like previously also, that you really enjoy being this enabler to other people. I also feel like that's a big part about running a community, and I feel like that's your role as like a director to enable like participants and volunteers like ourselves to like step out of our comfort zones, try things that we've never done before, like in your example, like somebody who has never spoken on like a platform before, and you realize, wow, you have so much hidden potential. I think that's the magic of like running a community as well. And I think especially for you, you've seen so many different people come through. And I feel like you're very deliberate in that, in giving people that space.
And I understand it, because I was that person. I sometimes still become that person where I need someone to push me a little bit. So then I also have like my group of friends within my community where they know that, okay, I think Saloni needs a push. So then she's like, so I go ahead, do it. This is a deadline for you. Do it before Feb or something.
So that's how you push deadlines.
So yeah,
that's nice.
So I think like if you relate to like any one of us, like our audience, if you relate to any one of us, or we definitely feel being a part of a community, being in tech and then being a part of a tech community is definitely beneficial for us in various different ways. And I would always recommend like any fresh graduate or like mid-career tech person to be in touch with a tech community that resonates with you. There are many different ones out there in every different city, country. So do find them on meetup.com, Eventbrite, Facebook groups. They're always around. Find them, be a part of them. That's where you will actually see a lot more like-minded people. And see that you're not the only one in the world. There are many people out there facing the same issues as you, growing similarly like you. So we definitely encourage.
And if you need recommendations, like definitely like pop that comment like wherever in our channel. We're happy to give recommendations because of we're not just representing WomenWhoCode, we're representing the tech community as a whole. We have a lot of, because of the community, we know other communities as well, and we will be very happy to help match you to like a suitable one based on your needs. And obviously it's not just for people who are already in tech or like already in school related to tech. It's also for people who are trying to explore the world for tech. We actually have like quite a few volunteers who are not really like in tech and having a tech job, but they're, they want to explore, know what it's like, and really hear from like true accounts of what it is like to know where they fit and how they should start. So definitely encourage that. And obviously if you have recommendations as to tech communities that you belong to or that you highly recommend, pop that in the comments below. And it's not just for us, it's for everybody else who's watching this podcast.
Or if you're currently running a community, please share it, because we're also curious and we might be
want to
open
partner with you.
we might be open for collaboration. So that is also something that we are open to. Definitely.
So leave in the comments below if you're in a tech community, put that name down. We'll definitely reply that. Or if you're looking for a tech community, put that question down below. Like, what are you looking for? So we'll be happy to help. And as always, like, thank you for tuning in to RagTech. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And I really enjoyed it, like opening up to both of you about like, our insecurities and why we joined. As always, this was a really good session. So as always, remember to like, follow, subscribe, comment,
Notifications.
All the
notifications
socials.
on our socials. Yeah.
Yes.
And be sure to like tune in to like the next episode that we have coming out. We basically post every 2 weeks. So yeah, that was RegTech. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.